The God Who Would Not Stay Small, an audiobook adaptation for Samsara Sagas. Long ago, in the unassuming Pannur village in Kerala, there lived a sage named Vilvamangalathu. He was not a man of high political standing or worldly influence. He walked a path far removed from the clamour of courts and the weight of titles. His life was a dedicated pursuit of the divine, a quiet, singular focus on Lord Vishnu. You see, for the Swamiyar, devotion was not a ritual to be completed or a box to be checked. It was his heartbeat. He didn't worship a distant concept. He lived in the presence of something he felt was undeniably real. But life is a way of testing the things we hold most dear. One day, that presence, the very essence of the divine, manifested in a way no one could have predicted. It did not arrive with thunderous roar, nor with the blinding light of celestial chariots. It arrived as a child. He was bright-eyed and restless, a boy who seemed to vibrate with a chaotic, playful energy. At first, the Swamiyar was charmed. There was a flicker of recognition in the sage's heart, a quiet inner certainty that this was no ordinary visitor, but the Lord himself in disguise. But here's where the story turns, and where I suspect it might sound familiar to you. The boy did not act like a god. He didn't sit still for prayers, he giggled through them. He wandered through sacred rituals as if they were nothing more than a game. When the Swamiyar prepared an offering, the boy reached for it before the mantra was even finished. The sage's carefully constructed world, his peace, his routine, his definition of what holiness looked like, was being interrupted at every turn. The boy looked at him one afternoon, a mischievous twinkle in his eye, and offered a simple, terrifying condition. I will stay with you, but only as long as you never lose your patience with me. It sounded easy, didn't it? But what the sage failed to realize was that patience is not a static quality. It's a resource that depletes. As the days bled into one another, the boy's mischief escalated. The sage held on, patiently at first, then with forced effort, until the pressure finally became too much to bear. It happened during a ritual that required his absolute undivided focus. The boy disrupted it again, and in that flash of a second, the sage snapped. A sharp word, a raised voice, a moment of uncontrolled human frustration. It was just a breath, a tiny fleeting fragment of time, but that was all it took. The boy fell silent. There was no anger on his face, no disappointment, only a look of quiet knowing. He smiled, and in that smile, there was a finality that pierced the sage's heart. If you wish to see me again, the boy said, come to Anantankad. And just like that, the presence vanished. The silence that filled the room was not peaceful. It was heavy with the crushing weight of realization. The Swamiyar hadn't just lost a visitor, he had lost the divine. What followed was not a walk, but a pilgrimage of regret. The Swamiyar wandered the vast, unforgiving forest of Anantankad, his heart consumed by a singular knowing question. What if I never find him again? He searched until his hope was nearly extinguished, and then, finally, he saw him. The boy stood there, waiting, as if he had never left. But the rules of reality seemed to shift. The boy didn't move, yet he began to grow. He stretched beyond the trees, beyond the horizon, beyond the very sky itself, until the sage was looking, not at a child, but at the infinite universe reclining upon a cosmic serpent. It was too much. The sage tried to look, to comprehend, to measure, but the head was too far, the feet were lost in the distance, and the whole was simply beyond the capacity of his mind. He fell to his knees, not in fear but in absolute surrender. How, he whispered, do I worship you like this? The infinite responded to his plea. The blinding cosmic form began to soften, drawing inward. It was not a reduction but an act of mercy, a transformation into a form of grace that the human eye could finally approach without being consumed by the magnitude of it. And there, in the sanctity of that forest, the sage understood his task. This encounter was too sacred to be left to memory alone. He laid the stones, not as a construction project, but as a physical anchor for this divine presence. He built the Padmanabhaswamy temple there, in the very heart of the wilderness, to house the Lord who had graciously agreed to stay within reach. And to this day, the very architecture of the temple remains a reflection of that moment. Even now, when you enter the sanctum, you cannot see him in a single sweeping glance. You must move, observe in parts: the feet, the torso, the face, each revealed separately, never all at once. The temple was designed that way, not as a structural limitation, but as a permanent reminder. The infinite, no matter how graciously it draws near, can never be fully captured or contained. As you reflect on this story, I'd like you to sit with those final haunting lines, because honestly, this is where your life and the Swamiyars start to look exactly the same. We all spend our days looking for the divine, or if that doesn't resonate, let's call it the good, the meaningful, or the purposeful. We want to find it, own it, and keep it on our shelf like a trophy. But the story of Padmanabhaswamy teaches us 3 painful, necessary truths about the way we live today. 1. The divine disguise. We operate under a silent assumption that if something is truly good or meaningful, it should be smooth, polished, and convenient. We want our blessings to be grand and well-behaved. We expect the divine to show up in a way that respects our schedule and makes us feel instantly peaceful. But life rarely presents its best gifts in gift wrapping. Think of it like this. If you were searching for a diamond in the dirt, and you only looked for things that were shiny, you'd never find the stone. You'd have to be willing to touch the dirt, to sort through the grit, and to look past the rough, unpolished edges. The divine disguise is just that. It's the way the most important opportunities in our lives arrive, wearing the mask of an inconvenience. Maybe it's that difficult coworker who constantly challenges your ideas. You see an obstacle to your peace. Could it actually be the divine pushing you to sharpen your communication or patience? Maybe it's a toddler who refuses to sit still, interrupting the quiet time you had planned. You see a disruption to your routine. Could it actually be the universe demanding you stop clinging to your rigid control and learn to play? Maybe it's a sudden, frustrating change in your life plan. A missed train, a cancelled project, a closed door. You see a bad day. Could it be a redirection you can't yet see? We spend so much of our energy trying to fix these messes, trying to sweep them away so we can get back to our perfect, orderly lives. But in our rush to restore order, we often sweep away the very thing we were meant to learn. The Swamiyar was so obsessed with his sacred ritual that he couldn't see the Lord standing right in front of him. 2. The fragility of the moment. Think about that moment when the sage snapped. It wasn't a year of mistakes. It was one single unguarded second. We live in an era of autopilot. We're constantly rushing, reacting, and constantly mentally preparing for what comes next. We retreat the present moment as a waiting room, something to be endured until we get to the important stuff. But the story of Padmanabhaswamy reminds us that life is not a long, durable chain. It's a series of fragile, crystalline moments. Think of it like a beautiful vase. You can handle it with care for years, but it takes only 1 second of carelessness to shatter it into pieces that can never be perfectly reassembled. We think we have more time to be present, to be kind, or to really listen to our partners or children. We assume we'll be better tomorrow. But the universe doesn't deal in tomorrows, it deals in nows. Are you guarding your moments of presence, or are you sleepwalking through them, unknowingly letting the most meaningful parts of your life slip through your fingers because you were too busy looking at your phone, your schedule, or your stress? 3. The wisdom of the parts. Finally, There's the lesson of the temple doors. We live in an age that demands the whole picture. We're obsessed with knowing the outcome before we start. We want the 5-year plan, the resolution to our problems, the big reveal of our life's purpose. We feel paralyzed because we can't see the finish line, so we refuse to take the next step. Think of it like working on a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. If you stare at the table and obsess over how far away you are from the finished image, you will only feel anxious and overwhelmed. But if you pick up a single piece, the only one you're holding in your hand right now, and fit it into the corner, that's an act of creation. The temple teaches us that you were never meant to hold the whole in your mind at once. You're only meant to witness it in parts. When you feel lost, it's usually because you're trying to view your life from a height you haven't reached yet. Stop trying to solve your entire existence. Stop waiting for the full picture to come clear. Focus on the single, small piece that you are holding right now. That, and only that, is the sacred work. So my advice to you today, slow down, stop trying to contain the infinite, and start experiencing the parts. The next time you feel impatient or interrupted or frustrated by the mess of your day, pause. Remember the boy in the forest. Maybe you aren't being inconvenienced. Maybe, just maybe, you're being tested. And the grace you're looking for is standing right in front of you, waiting to see if you have the patience to truly see it. The story ends here, but the journey, it continues right here within you.